Hello, everyone, and welcome to session 1, workshop number 3. And this workshop is going to be all about using technology to support literacy learning in diverse learners. And I'm just kind of helping out, hosting the session, and I'm really looking forward to it. But just as a quick reminder, as you could see down at the bottom near my name, you'll see a hashtag, the hashtag the EdCollab Gathering, and then hashtag 3 if you'd kind of like to participate in today's presentation or have any questions. We can actually track those, so feel free to use hashtag the EdCollab Gathering, hashtag 3. But with that said, I'd like to now kick off the presentation, and firstly, I'd like to introduce Ryan Quinn. Ryan Quinn is going to be talking about digital literacy and how it can help students with learning disabilities. So with that said, I turn it over to Ryan.
Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Ryan Quinn. I'm a learning support teacher at Emory H. Markle Intermediate School in Southwestern. I've been working here for 5 years, and one of my great passions is finding a way to incorporate technology and use technology to support my students who have really diverse needs in the classroom. It can stem from anything from a learning disability in reading or mathematics to students who struggle with autism spectrum disorders, among other things. So I'm going to talk to you about a couple of different skills today and a couple of different systems that you can use to support these students. I'd like to start off by talking a little bit about digital literacy itself. I was actually watching a tech talk the other day hosted by Doug Belshaw, and Doug was talking about how if we're not paying attention to these digital literacies that are developing and how it is a complex system, we're losing out on 50% of skill development for these learners that need that support. Doug is on the forefront of a lot of digital literacy research, and later on today I'll actually tweet out the TED Talk if anybody would like to check it out. But digital literacy, it's really important to ask ourselves what that means for our students. And to me, it's a continuum. It's something that students can grow. Sometimes they might take a step backwards before they can take a step forwards. And teaching digital literacy, whether you're trying to do that through the ISTE standards or you're doing it through an actual program, it can be a challenge for schools. One of the things that I've come across is a program that originally started as a system called Autism Expressed. And I'm going to share my screen with you in just a second to show you what that website looks like. And then I'll talk a little bit about how that program has transformed into a new system called Digitability, and how that is being used to support students, not just with learning disabilities, not just on autism spectrum disorder, with autism spectrum disorders, but it's also being used to support all learners. So I'm going to show you briefly what the website looks like. So the program originally started as Autism Expressed, and hopefully you guys can see this right now. And the program was designed by a woman from Philadelphia named Michelle McKinnon. And this program was designed as a research-based program to develop these digital literacy skills, socialization, and independence in students with specific autism spectrum disorders. But it has grown over the years, and it's now having an outreach where it's affecting countless learners and helping them develop those digital literacy skills. So I'm going to quickly jump over to what Digitability looks like, and we're going to talk a little bit about what its modules look like. Now, this program does have a cost, so it is important to note that up front, but the program itself is broken down into different modules, and it's a progressive track through a system of skills that students need to learn and they need to develop. Module 1 is going to start to talk with you about internet basics. What is safe for these students to do? What is not safe? And for anyone that's ever had an experience with a student who has an autism spectrum disorder, we know that it's a very black and white world, and that they sometimes struggle to see that gray area in between. And the way that this system is developed is it allows learners to see exactly what is expected of them, what's safe behavior on the internet, and then also how to gain access to these countless resources that are available to them. The system is also really nice because Right now in education, the idea of gamifying things where students can earn badges or master badges has become a really popular trend. And it's a trend that's starting to stick because it's allowing students to take an extrinsic motivation and eventually turn it into an intrinsic philosophy on why they want to learn these different skills. So Digitability is a fantastic program that allows learners to learn about what these skills are and what's safe for them to do on the internet. And as they progress through, you can see that the skills that they're learning become a little more in-depth, and it's eventually building them to where they can use these skills in a professional age. We know that we're preparing our students right now for jobs that do not exist yet. And for me as a special education teacher, it does not matter if that is a job that might be on a lower level or a job that's on a higher level. I need to support them in any way possible. And if you look here at module 4 where my mouth cursor is, you can see that it eventually works through students on resume building, how they can build an online portfolio. And the program is constantly adding new modules. It's constantly developing new research. So I'm going to bring myself back here. All right. So that was Digitability. And I'd also like to talk to you a little bit today about a method for students for communicating. It's a very difficult thing in a classroom for students with learning disabilities, especially when it's language-based. It's also a very difficult thing for students with autism spectrum disorders to have the ability to communicate in an effective way, whether it's because of a lack of confidence, whether it's because of a lack of exposure, or because it's a lack of ability. We need to find different modalities and different mediums for them to be able to express themselves. One of the ways that I have found that to be most successful is through the use of an iPad application called Book Creator. Book Creator is a fantastic program. I can use Book Creator for a variety of things. As an elementary level teacher, Book Creator can be used from a teacher perspective to present information in an organized way where you can have voiceover and you can talk about like whether you're doing a book talk to get people engaged, but it can also be used to talk about life skills. If you have a student who's struggling to remember to do things in a certain order, you can break things down into a task analysis. The opportunities and the way that you can use Book Creator really are endless. And now Book Creator is simply accessible through downloading it in the Apple Store. So if I'm on the internet and you want to check this out right now while during the video or after this video is over, you're going to go onto the internet and you can read a little bit about it. There's an iTunes preview available. Now this application does cost $4.99, but what you gain from being able to use it is a positive for your classroom. As far as presenting for students that have disabilities, I use it in my mathematics class where students will actually teach a lesson, and then through collaborating with different classrooms, whether it's at my grade level or other grade levels, we can share out what's created, and students can almost create a virtual textbook for the things that are being learned in the class. And it allows them to present that information in a safe, inviting, and comfortable way, which is also really important. So that is about all that I have to share with you today. So what I'd like to do right now is to turn it over to another individual who's going to talk about how we can use similar applications to reach a wide range of learners.
I really enjoyed hearing from Ryan there. And as he mentioned now, I'm excited to be able to turn it over to Melissa Wilson. And Melissa specifically is going to take some of these tech tips that Ryan had started with and shift over to discussing how they can be used with more gifted students. So Melissa, welcome.
Thank you. So I'm Melissa Wilson. I'm in my 9th year of working with gifted learners here at Southwestern School District. I have two passions. One is getting gifted learners to get to their full potential. If you've worked with gifted learners, you know that sometimes they can be very unmotivated. People think of gifted learners as those that are the teacher pleasers, that they're always compliant, and this is not true at all. So I use technology to engage them. So the first tool I'm going to show you is called Animoto, and it has been around for quite some time. Let me get over here. All right, here we go. So this is what it looks like, what the dashboard looks like. You sign up for Animoto, and then you add your educator account. What I love about it is, number one, it's free, and you can have up to 50 student accounts with it. Now, I will caution you to get signed up well before you want to use it, because the first time, in order to get your account activated, it does take a few days. Once it's activated, it's good for 6 months. They warn you via email that you're getting ready to expire. It's a simple click of the mouse to get it reactivated, and that happens almost instantaneously. So here we are in my account, and if I was going to, I've already started one here, continue editing this one, then students are going to either come in with pictures they've already taken, so maybe you've told them about the project ahead of time. Maybe they're going to do like a scavenger hunt around the school and go out and take their pictures. It also takes video, so you can use either one, or they can use pictures off of the internet. So with a simple click of the mouse, you can add your pictures in. They can change, it comes when they choose their theme. So it says style here. These are all the themes that are available, and with a mouse click over it, it shows you what that theme is going to look like. It comes preloaded with music, but they can change the music within it. They can, so I used this yesterday in the honors geometry class. They were reviewing for a test, and they had a lot of vocabulary. So they went out, they took pictures of all the vocabulary, then they were able to add captions to each of the pictures of what the picture was. They could have also added slides in that had the text on them. You can spotlight videos and spotlight pictures to keep them on longer. Then they simply uploaded it. She's using Schoology, so they took the URL, uploaded it to Schoology, and then the students had to watch 3 of their classmates and comment whether theirs were accurate or not. So that is Animoto, and again, that is a free tool. The second one I'm going to show you is Powtoons. Powtoons is another free one with your educator account. This one is different, however, though the students have to create their own account, whereas in Animoto, you are creating their account for them. In Powtoons, they create the account, and then you can link that account to your classroom. So over here on the left, you see the slides. It has a timeline down in the bottom, and all of the tools are over here on the right. What I like about this is that it can be as simple as they want it to be, or it can be as complicated. So if you've got the kid who has very low technology skills, they can keep it simple. In fact, over here, you could change it to slideshow. Right now, it's on movie. There's also a simple mode versus an enhanced mode. So you can change it and make it much easier for them. It's drag and drop technology. So they want this character, they drag it over and drop it in. The more advanced user can add transitions. They can even add a voiceover. So they've gone through and then they decide what they want to say. You can have them write the scripts. There are even tools on here that walk them through the process. There are videos that show them how to write the script, how to do the voiceover, and how to finally publish. When I've had students do this, I have them share the URL with me via email, so it's very easy, and then we watch them together as a class. You could also use Powtoons in order to launch a lesson. The kids really enjoy them. I first discovered this actually through YouTube, and so if you go on YouTube, you will see lots of Powtoons that have been created, and that might inspire you. My last tool, we're going to shift gears here, because Nearpod I love because it is a great way to do formative assessment. So you're going through your lesson and you wonder whether the kids are getting it or not. With Nearpod, you will know. If you've used Pear Deck, Nearpod is very similar to Pear Deck. So the slide I'm showing you now is just an overview of what my library looks like. These are all ones I have created or I have added to. They actually have Nearpods that are already made, so if you're doing a topic and you wonder what's already out there, you can actually go on. They do cost money. Nearpod does have a free version, but like everything else, the paid version is better. So that's up to you, but you can actually upgrade to the better account by getting your friends to join Nearpod. So what I love about Nearpod is that you're able to bring in the slide, either your Google Slides or your PowerPoints that you've already created. So you import them in, and then you add content to it. So this is what the screen looks like. You can add content, you can add web content, or you can add an activity. By an activity, what it really means is a question. You can add an open-ended question. Those are my favorites. You can poll the students. They can take a quiz. They can actually draw on. They would use their mouse and they could draw on it. So if you were doing something with maps, they could actually show you where that country was or where that state is. There's fill in the blank, and then further over here to the right, there's actually matching pairs. So this is an example of what, here's a question I have asked the class, and as they entered, it would tell me who the student is, what their answer is, how many people have answered. So what I like to do is I project the screen so they can see it on their computer and they can see it on the screen, and then I see as the responses, I'm walking around with my iPad. If I see that Bob has answered the correct question incorrectly, I can walk right over and I can talk to him, and he can actually resubmit his answer. Another nice feature with the open-ended questions, you can share somebody's answer, but it is completely, you don't know whose answer it is. So for the shy kids sitting in the back of the class that may not normally say much, they can have their answer projected and nobody knows it's their answer. What I'm showing you now is what the teacher is actually able to see while you are presenting. So you can see all of your slides so that you can skip around if you want to. All right, let me go back here now. All right, so that should be enough to get you started with Nearpod. So we will switch over now.
Yeah, great. That was really good stuff that you were showing us, Melissa. We really appreciate it. And now that Melissa has shown us some things that we can do with gifted students, and I thought some of those tech tips were great and I can't wait to use them, I want to shift over to Aileen Hauer. And what she's going to do is just follow up on what Ryan and Melissa have already talked about, and she's going to give us a few more tech tips that we can use to promote literacy with a diverse student population. So Aileen, it's on to you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Aileen Hauer, and I am the literacy supervisor and literacy coach in our district in South Central Pennsylvania. A lot of my research has been on autism and literacy, and that's where my passion is too, because my son has Asperger's syndrome, and what we wanted to do was help you see things that would work specifically with students on the autism spectrum, in our general education classrooms, but also to talk about how a lot of these ideas are great for reluctant learners, for learning support students, and also for students learning English as their second language, and also for, as Melissa talked about, gifted students, and that it very much is not something to just do with a certain population of students. I wanted to focus on reading strategies, supporting reading, because when a student has executive functioning issues, and that could apply to ADHD as well, but that they sometimes become overwhelmed, especially by a textbook and or a whole novel, to understand what's important for us to read and understand versus what are details, and they sometimes get lost in the details. And one of the tech tools that can be really helpful to support students is using QR codes. And I know that QR codes have been around for a really long time, and so I didn't feel like I wanted to show you what it looks like, but to just show you that if you use it to slice through text, to show, to jigsaw through text, that can be very helpful for students, because they don't become inundated and overwhelmed with the whole of the entire text. That the teacher can use the QR code, which is engaging in and of itself, to go out to a specific reading or to a specific site and guide the students through what's important and what's essential to understand versus everything. And that's one thing that can be very successful in supporting students in their reading skills. Another thing, because all students on the spectrum are not the same, and all learners in our classroom are not the same. So some do have a preference or an affinity or even a skill strength in audio or audio processing, oral language. And so I wanted to share how podcasts can be very helpful for us to use in addition to, and I'm a big fan of text sets and multimodal literature, you know, that sort of thing. And so podcasts are a fantastic way to be able to have students read through information without actually putting the words on page in front of them. And I think that this will prove to be incredibly beneficial and has proven to be incredibly beneficial with students on the spectrum, because it again is something where it's not just the same, which they have had a lack of success with, and it's not just figure this out for themselves. Oftentimes, just like I'm doing right now, the speaker will repeat most important pieces of information. They're going to use anecdotes. They're going to be specific because they know their audience is a listening audience. And so the delivery is just so unique and helpful and very different than it would be in just text. So that is something that I think that we should investigate more with all of our students, but especially with this population of students. And a third idea that I had is that to use, and I am going to go out to the internet, is to be able to use, especially with our younger learners. I know a lot of times, a lot of these ideas that we have shared are really fantastic. I've used some of the ideas that Melissa has shared with students with autism. Again, like she had mentioned, to be able to take the stress and the pressure off of standing in front of a class or raising a hand and giving a response, that there is something that feels more doable when I write without that pressure. And but at the same time, some of these skills are relegated to, or these apps are relegated to older students or students who are, you know, on one-on-one or with devices, which tend not to be our younger students. So I did want to include an idea that came up that will work with younger students, and it's just allowing them to read in a more interactive way. So here I go. I'm going to screen share. And I'm going to take you to a website that, no, I am. Yeah. Hi, sorry. I'm going to take you to a website that is free. It's very expensive actually, but it's free often through our public libraries, which is just such an incredible resource that they provide for us. And there's actually two different ones, but I had wanted to show you TrueFlix especially. There's BookFlix, and then there's TrueFlix. And what BookFlix does is, which is not on the screen, but it presents a book of fiction text, and some of them are very popular fiction texts, such as Knuffle Bunny, written by one of my favorite authors, which Mo Willems, and then also pairs it with a nonfiction text. So again, just bringing that text to life, putting a voice to it, and then being able to pair it with something else, so that those things that are easy for us to understand if we have like a general education brain, but that are not as obvious with students on the spectrum, they don't naturally make those connections, that these connections have been done for them. And the same thing is true with TrueFlix. And so students can really highlight or go into their areas of interest. And so here, learn about, I know Malala is incredibly popular with young learners right now. And so there is a video to watch in addition to text to read. And if we open this book, there's just a whole lot more interaction here for the students, plus beautiful, rich text with beautiful, vibrant colors. And I think that this is the type of thing that can help students be really, really popular. Successful, because it's popular and it's interesting to them. You can have a read along, if you see in the top right-hand corner. yes, right-hand corner, you can have the read-along going on, just like a Kindle, which I've found. I have my son, I told you, has Asperger's, and he would go through books without making any notes or noticing any of the words, and then not surprisingly come away with what I thought was a poor understanding of the text. But even just putting him on his e-reader, he was able to highlight words like you see I'm highlighting terrorist here. The definition would come right up. Assassination here, and then also on the e-reader he's able to make notes, and I sort of insisted upon that in first so that he could start to understand or reflect upon what he was reading, as opposed to just spinning through it so quickly and not really having anything to take away from it. And so as you can see here, there's just so many options for, don't know how to get out of this. So, and then there's activities to do afterwards, and not to say that we're recommending any of these things for all the time. These are definitely ideas and strategies that enhance a curriculum and make the learning more engaging, especially for these reluctant learners. But these are tools and strategies that are available so that we can really help them feel comfortable. I think that's the goal. Help them feel successful, help them feel comfortable in their learning, especially with reading, which is very difficult. Again, another topic is, here, let me stop sharing my screen so you can see my face. Sorry about that. And now I go back here. Sorry, I'm back. So that when you have difficulty with central coherence, which is only seeing details and not seeing the bigger picture, or when you have difficulty with taking another person's point of view, which is called theory of mind, that we are providing these tools that can step in and support that and model it and guide students through that information so that they feel more successful and that they become a little bit less reluctant because they are successful, as opposed to when everything was just, no, you didn't get that right, no, that was wrong, no, that's not the way we do those things. So that's just about all I had wanted to share. So I know we're a little early on time. Hi.
That's great. Really well done, Aileen. Now what we're going to do is we're going to shift and actually move into a little bit of a question session with the three of you. And Twitter had many positive things to say about what you're doing, all the technology apps you were sharing. Everyone was talking about them, which was great. But I just wanted to direct a few questions your way, if that's okay, and the three of you can take them for a moment.
That sounds great.
Great, okay. So let's get to the first one. Firstly, I just wanted to ask you about, the three of you all talked about different types of technology you can use for the classroom for specific types of learners. And I think a lot of people learn from that. But I guess, and any of you can take this really, are the different apps that you found, would they be appropriate for the general education classroom, or do you think they're more focused on one particular type of student?
I mean, being in the classroom on a consistent basis, I have the opportunity to teach students in a learning support setting, but I also push out into regular education classrooms on a daily basis. So being able to see that and experience all of wide variety of students every day, I would easily say that these applications, whether it's anything that teaches digital literacy, the different modalities for presenting, I mean, what we're talking about here is things that are great for everyone. Just because we focus today on students with autism spectrum or students who are gifted, really what we're doing, this best practice for those students is a best practice for everyone.
And I like to have lots of tools in my tool belt so that when we have an assignment and they need to present, I can give them lots of options. You can do it Animoto, you can do it Powtoons. There are lots of ways, so they're not just stuck with the one I thought of.
And I know one of the sessions that's going on right now is with Kristen Zimke, and I had spent some time learning from her, and her book coming out, Amplify, coming out little bit later this fall, really talks about how all of these digital tools work to enhance our curriculum and engage students in the learning, as opposed to having them be a little bit more passive. So that's why they can, I mean, we don't want teachers to feel overwhelmed. Oh, I have to put technology into every day, into every session, because when you're starting out, you really do need to pace yourself. But it is available, and it is possible for them to be in every different type of lesson. And then it's important to remember that sometimes students do just ask for paper and pencil, that sometimes they do, could you just not use all that technology? Interestingly, though, I don't find that in our students on the spectrum. I feel like they feel like this is a safe place for them to be with the technology. It's something they understand. It's also something that they're really good at, and we always want to celebrate student successes and build to their strengths, and that's one of the reasons that it can be an everyday sort of thing, as long as the resources are there and the teacher feels confident with that.
Yeah, I like that sentiment of using what works for you and not forcing the students to do things that they're not ready to do. So yeah, no, I think those are some really good points. Another thing I was just wondering about is how were you able to come across these apps? I mean, it seems like each of you has this great toolbox at your disposal, and I guess teachers are kind of jealous of that and want to know what's going on. How did you find these apps?
I'm obsessed with Twitter, and I get most of my ideas from Twitter. It's the last thing I do before I go to bed. I check my Twitter feed, and there are so many ideas out there. You just have to have time to go investigate them, and don't feel like you have to be an expert at them, because nothing feels better to a student. You know, I make sure I know enough to get them started, but then if we get stuck, we solve it together, or usually a kid figures it out, and then they can come up and use my computer and show the rest of the class, and you know, what a win for them that they are now teaching their classmates.
And I really believe that like technology and the internet has opened up this massive network for professional learning, and that if you're willing to invest the time, which all of us are as educators because we want the best outcomes for our students, all you have to do is take a little bit of time to look, and we're no longer required or stuck in the four walls of our school or the four walls of our classroom. I can reach out through Twitter or through just any internet application just to look at different things that are available to create these authentic learning experiences for students. If you just take the time to ask, it's not just people in your building anymore. And I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned in the past couple of years, is not being afraid to ask other people, whether it's following someone on Twitter that I didn't know before, or just looking out through different resources or attending conferences. If you look, you don't have to look that hard. And I really want to echo what Melissa said about, you know, allowing our learners to take that precedence and be in control, because they're the ones that are eventually going to be moving forward with this technology in the future.
And I think we have been fortunate as a district to, we actually, our district vision is for all learners to have voice and choice. We actually don't call the people that come in that we teach students anymore. We're trying not to, we call them learners. And we actually are trying not to use the word teacher anymore. We're trying to use the word facilitator. And so we are maybe, you know, certainly not the most ahead, but I think we're a little bit more further along in the process than some districts may be. But where it started was just with bring your own device. Instead of, I saw this thing on Pinterest, which was a shoe holder, you know, an old-fashioned shoe holder, and kids would put their technology in there in order to get credit for attending the class. But what that implies is that they're not, I mean, when I have a question, I go right out with my phone or my smartphone onto Google and I get an answer for it, or any of the other wonderful search engines that are out there. But so having students put their phone in a place or put it away is not natural to the learning process. If that's how we as adults learn, we should not be afraid to allow students to, and the more you engage with the technology and use it for positive educational purposes, I think then the students realize that they're, just like language. We don't text the same way we talk in school. We wouldn't use our device the same way we would in the classroom because we want to use it to further our learning. We do have one-to-one now all the way down through 7th grade, 7th through 12th grade, and those things do help. We have 2 tech coaches, but there are a lot of amazing teachers in our district who really just are curious and exciting, and just having PLCs, or like they said, PLNs, and just sharing ideas and just giving one thing a try is where you get started.
I mean, I was going to say your enthusiasm for technology is clear across all 3 of you, and I'm sure throughout your district, it's really nice to see. And Aileen, I like how you bring up that image of putting the technology into the box. It's like everything that's wrong, I guess, with what's going on with learning. And Ryan and Melissa, I was thinking about Twitter myself. I think that's such a good strategy for anybody who's out there watching that doesn't really use it. It is a great way to learn. And I was thinking about what we're doing right now with the Ed Collab Gathering. I mean, completely free, and we get to hear from great teachers like you.
Absolutely.
Great. So it looks like, actually, one last thing. Could one of you actually tweet out a list of all the apps you used today, because I think it would be beneficial, and then we can add it to the description of this video so everybody can see what you used. But with that said, I want to thank you for everything you did for us today. Yeah, have a great day, and hopefully you catch some of the other sessions.
Thank you so much for your help. Thanks for all the tech help. Ed Collaborative is amazing.
No problem at all. Have a good day.
You too.
Okay, so with that said, what I want to do is just direct your attention to what's going to be going on for the rest of the day. So what's coming up next in session 2 will be a few great workshops. So you have workshop number 6, The Power of Mentors, workshop number 7, Designing Curriculum that Inspires Creativity, workshop number 8, Facilitating Inquiry Research with Primary Age Students, workshop number 9, Moving from Diversity to Social Justice, workshop 10, Taking a Nature Walk, and that looks exciting, the intersection of science and the English class. And one last thing, this workshop today has been completely free, but we do encourage you, since you didn't have to pay anything for this, to please donate to the Book Love Foundation. You can do that either by going directly to their site at Book Love, or you can go through the Ed Collab Gathering. And then finally, what I want to do is just encourage you, if you'd like to follow what's going on today, you can definitely do that by searching the hashtag Ed Collab Gathering, and all of the sessions today. If you missed one or watched one but didn't have time to go to the other, or had to choose between 2 and it was a really tough decision, all of these workshops are archived on the Ed Collab Gathering site, which gives you the opportunity to, anytime you want, watch some great learning like we just experienced right now. Great. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the future, and I hope that you stay tuned for more workshops throughout the day.